Hello, you're watching Theater Tips and Tricks for Ministry. My name is Jocelyn, and this series is all about helping you discover techniques from the performing arts that can help you be more effective in your church or ministry program. Tip number 3 is all about putting together simple skits and dramas that pack powerful messages. And as we explore different approaches to drama for ministry, our friends will be bringing them to life. Let's go! If you serve in a church, a camp, or anywhere with youth and families, you've probably seen a skit or two in your time. Skits are small-scale dramas with action, dialogue, and conflict, and they're usually geared toward younger audiences and usually have themes and characters that everybody can relate to. An audience with ages 5 to 15 is a great test of how theatrical your story is because they love action and quick changes in tempo and focus. One of the easiest things you could do to add a little drama to your sermon is to read a passage of scripture like normal, but have some people act out the story as you narrate. Now, the actors could be given a character on short notice with little to no preparation, and it could be done so that they just act out whatever comes to mind as you read. You could even call it a skit on the spot. Now, we're going to pick up where we left off in Luke 15, and we're going to watch some friends act out this for real. Here we go.
So, Jesus asked them, if you had 100 sheep and lost one, if you were a decent human being, wouldn't you go out and search and rejoice that you found it?
Let's keep reading and see where Jesus takes these questions.
A reading from Luke chapter 15, starting in verse 11. To illustrate the point further, Jesus told him this story. A man had 2 sons. The youngest son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons.
Let's pause right here and introduce our next level of skit tricks, writing skits for yourself. If you have a topic or a theme that you want to write a skit about, you have to first consider your audience and also consider who is going to perform the skit. Make sure that you think about the language and imagery you use, that way your story is not overtaken by pop culture references. And be sure to consider your audience's attention span. Don't be afraid to be melodramatic and goofy, it's a skit. In our Prodigal Son skit, we're going to add some action music and take our action through the aisle and to the back of the church. When you move the action, you give everybody in the audience a chance to see and hear you much better. Let's watch.
A few days later, this younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. And there he wasted all his money on the wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land. And he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him into his fields to feed the pigs. The young man became so hungry that even the pods he was feeding the pigs looked good to him. But no one gave him anything.
Wow, with some directional variation and some music, we've added a whole different level of emotion to our skit that we started. Aren't they doing great?
Oh yeah.
Well, now let's talk about some things other people have done with drama in their ministries.
Another style of drama that you could do is performing a silent skit, which is acted out to one or more songs, and it takes it to a different level of emotion and symbolism and focuses less on the humor. Many churches and Bible camps also do another kind of drama called a mime, in which they act out one or more different stories to different songs.
Yeah, I've worked for a Bible camp myself, and the mime and the skits were always a very powerful faith experience for campers and counselors alike. Aside from writing your own skits, as a pastor or teacher, you could take your sermon from the perspective of a character in a story. I've seen this done by one church, and it had a very powerful effect. A message was delivered from the perspective of different characters of the Prodigal Son story. How fitting. As another more advanced trick, some groups link together songs and stories as a bigger production.
Yes, I've been a part of a group like that. cast was made up of different members from the community. We created a themed show tied together with different Christian music and skits, and toured to different churches and towns each summer. Being a part of this show each year had a strong impact on not only just the audience members, but it also had a strong impact on the cast.
Don't feel like you have to put on a Broadway-ready show right off the bat. There are an abundance of skits written in books and online resources for skit teams and audiences of all kinds. Or you can use our tips to help you create your own skits and meet the needs of your own group. The purpose of a skit is to impact an audience in a different way than it would be with a message just plainly said. And it usually creates an alternative to sitting still through another message. Ultimately, the skit should be written so that its take-home message doesn't need any further explanation, that it speaks for itself. Well, I'm Jocelyn. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for tip number 4.